My guest is Superintendent Todd Bowling. Todd, welcome back to another Super Chat.
Thanks, Gary. Glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Well, Todd, this has been a rough couple of months for all of us, but in particular, the school district. And one of the biggest things to take place impacting Ohio schools is that Governor DeWine canceled school for the rest of the academic year. Describe how this has affected K-12 education across the state.
Yeah, as everybody knows, it's a drastic change, but it's a change that we'll continue to deal with. We'll continue our virtual learning with all our students. Our biggest thing we're doing right now is reaching out to those students who are not logging on and seeing what we can do to get them a Chromebook or some written work in packets that they will not be required to pass back in, but the ability to get some work done. So the biggest thing for us is not having equity in terms of being able to make sure all students have access is our biggest challenge right now. But we've gotten better every day, and we're starting to reach more and more kids every day. So we're getting closer to 100%.
Yeah, that's positive. Well, during the remainder of this time left in the current academic year, I assume that assignments are being issued to students online, plus if students don't have access, somehow they get their hands on a packet of sorts. Is that kind of the realm you're in now?
It is, and it's kind of trying to meet the needs of every student. So it's getting Braille machines out to those that might not be working or need them. Hearing devices, Chromebooks being dropped off on front porches and left, and then the parents or the kid coming out and getting them, getting the Wi-Fi connected. But on top of that, we are providing great online virtual learning. I'm seeing Zoom meetings where teachers are meeting individually or with large groups of kids. Packets are being delivered. But we also have schools determining end of the year virtual recognitions. They're still conducting their PTA and booster meetings via Zoom. And they're just trying to keep some normalcy to their procedures as they come to the end of the year.
You know, obviously it's been tough on everyone. And as you approach the end of the year with all this distancing requirement that is in place, explain to me how you will be going forth with prom, graduation, things that are kind of milestone events for seniors.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that their senior year has come to this conclusion, but things like prom are going to be very difficult to do. There are no large group gatherings. Some virtual proms are happening here and there, but with graduation, we have taken the stance that our two high schools would like to do virtual graduations. And pretty much here's the reason why. ODE released the following statement. And this is from ODE, and I think it's significant in that whether we want to be compared to what others are doing, we're clearly trying to follow what ODE is describing. And so the Ohio Department of Education has been fielding several questions about graduation ceremonies and other end-of-the-year recognition ceremonies for students. Educators, students, parents are questioning whether they should attempt to hold in-person events of this nature. And here's the key part for everyone to understand. While we understand the significance, tradition, and rites of passage, many of these events represent, particularly for our seniors, schools should hold events virtually rather than conducting in-person events of this type and record these events whenever possible and practicable. To congregate during graduation ceremonies, they plainly state should not be held. Additionally, we can recommend holding a virtual alternate recognition on the original intended graduation day. So they're wanting us to stay as close to the date as we can. He stated very clearly it's still a dangerous situation. They're doing small groupings of how they open up, but our seniors basically were done around May 4th or 5th. Graduation going to be May 18th and 19th. So short times to get this together, but we are working with Waycross, and we're going to try to make graduation as great as possible for our kids.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things that I would just add to your comments there to bring a little perspective is one of the things in talking to all the schools that I do all over the place, the one thing that is common, and it is a common thread from kindergarten on, is the safety of students and staff. That's always been the case. So I think the safest thing is what the ODE has laid out. So I don't know, anything that drops the ball on the safety issue just doesn't seem like a wise move. And that's just an outsider looking in, but I'm talking to a lot of schools, and a lot of them are going virtual.
Yeah, and the other thing is we are role models for our kids, and we take pride in that. So to have a gathering of any amount puts people in danger. And even with the release of employees going back to work slowly in Ohio, there still are no mass gatherings allowed over 10. So it just makes sense to do it this way. Unfortunate for our seniors, and we love them, and we are very proud of them, but just the state of where we are right now.
Yeah, through nobody's fault. Well, when you and your administrative team and your school board members look toward putting any kind of a plan in place for the potential for opening schools next year on a modified basis, what do those plans look like? Can you give stakeholders kind of a peek behind the curtain on what is being thought of right now and how that might unfold?
Yeah, not knowing is the most difficult thing, but we are planning. We are meeting as a group of superintendents and then our curriculum directors with other districts, and we are trying to devise a plan that will have a different type of opening. And it still takes time, and we have to see what is going to be put in place by the governor. And as he said, he is not ready to make that determination at this time, and it will be later this summer. We already have employees going to work, whether it's food service, our custodians, those doing Zoom meetings, but the ones who are putting themselves in harm's way by passing out food and doing other things, we have put specific guidelines in place of how they can self-monitor, which is very important, what they need to look for, recognition of what they're looking for, and just making sure that they are keeping their 6 feet distancing as we go. We've had a lot of people contribute masks to the district, homemade, which are awesome and phenomenal and greatly appreciated. But we continue to follow the guidelines by Ohio and federal requirements. And we know a lot of people have fear. They don't know what to expect. We have teachers who are worried about coming back to school next year. But we will provide the safest environment possible. We will continue to recognize the hand washing, the 6 feet distancing, the wearing of masks, and honor those things that have been required, and do our best to make sure we present a great environment that's good for learning. So not sure what it'll look like, but we're ready to go when we do get back.
Understand. Well, as with any trying situation, some good can come from this. And I'm just curious, how do you think all of this has affected the morale of your community in general?
Yeah, I mean, to watch some of the videos that are out there on Facebook and Instagram and some other things, I'm sure it's a very trying time for our parents as they worry about work, providing for their families, and then how do they help do as much as they can educating their child in lieu of where we are. I do, however, love the fact that families are spending time together, taking walks, riding bikes, playing games. It is nice to see that this is being brought back to the forefront of families. However, you also have some really tough situations due to the pandemic that has caused huge stress on families. They're trying to provide daycare while working from home or working 2 jobs just to provide any income they can. So we want to keep an eye on this and do our best to help our families and watch our kids.
Of course. Let me ask you this, Todd. For any staff member that may be listening out there right now, what message would you convey to them at this point?
This one is, you are phenomenal. Basically, in a 1 or 2 week period, they transitioned to a virtual learning environment, changing everything they had ever planned for or ever been taught in their education prior to being in education. They've adapted to the needs of our students. They've adapted to the way they instruct. They've adapted to the way they use materials. They've really stepped up to the plate. If you look at our district, we're not only been required to go to an online platform for delivering education, but we're also responsible as a valued member of our community to feed our students in a time of need. So I am so proud of everyone's efforts, how hard they've worked, putting themselves in front of situations where they could catch COVID, but also following the safety guidelines where they're not, and doing an extraordinary job. We've basically developed an entire new way to educate and provide for our community in a very short period of time. People say that educators are slow to change. I would say, no, we're not. We've adapted very well and doing the best we can. So got great employees that work harder than ever, and very proud to be a part of this team.
Solid team, yes. What would you say to students that may hear this? What would you deliver to them in terms of an inspiring message, perhaps?
Yeah, the biggest thing is we miss you. We miss our students, our teachers do, our classified employees. We all went into the business of education because we wanted to help provide an education to you that opened the doors for your future. I hope that they can take this time to reflect and list what challenges they've met head on in a virtual learning community and help them prepare for possible future implementation of different ways of education. Maybe jobs change. Maybe from now on, there will always be that plexiglass divider wall between you and someone else. But it doesn't take away your ability to communicate. It doesn't take away from who you are. I hope that they're taking time to enjoy their families and keeping the lines of communication open with their friends, whether it's virtually, online, or somehow. And as with everything else, this will pass and we'll get back to some normalcy. We're not sure what that normalcy will look like, but it'll get back to pretty similar to what it was. And to our seniors who are working hard to make sure they meet the graduation requirements, I wish them nothing but the best. They will grow from this and become stronger individuals. There is no doubt about that. But we are very proud of who they are and what they've become. And, they've met this head on. They continue to accept the challenges. And like I said, we will continue to work hard. We meet all our students' needs.
Good advice, healthy thoughts. Well, of course, this pandemic fallout has left our economy and our society in just somewhat of a weakened state, but we will come back. That's what America does, and it sounds like your team is just rising to the occasion. Testing begins to amp up big time, and we can get back to some semblance of normal. It'll be here. It's coming. You have a lot of smart people working on it. Todd, this has been good information you've shared today, and I want to personally thank you for joining me here again on SuperChat.
Thanks, Gary. We always appreciate the opportunity you provide for our school district. The more information we get out, the better off we are. So thank you.